Believe it or not, I am an introverted person. This might seem odd considering my YouTube channel is dedicated to creating videos about how to communicate in front of large groups of people with energy and enthusiasm, but public speaking, it drains me. It truly wears me out. And it's interesting because a lot of my friends, they're more extroverted and they get energized by interactions, by public speaking. And don't get me wrong, I always get that high after getting off of a stage. It's a great feeling, especially if the speech went very well. But afterward, I am, simply put, I'm drained. I am out of energy. And the purpose of this video is for my fellow introverts. Perhaps you're like me. Perhaps speaking to groups of people, maybe it's communicating on a one-to-one basis or standing up on a stage and communicating in front of large groups. Perhaps that frightens you. Perhaps it wears you down. This video is for you fellow introverts. Hey everyone, my name is Wade Patterson and my YouTube channel is all about impactful communication. I want to help you become a better communicator. Communication is a major part of all forms of life and I want to help you improve that skill set. So if that sounds like a good plan to you, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It would mean so much to me. If you're somebody who is introverted, but you want to improve your public speaking skills, my first tip is to practice. Practice, practice, practice. Practice is such an important piece of public speaking. And I know there are those people out there, those unicorns, who can simply get on stage and wing it. And a first run through off the top of their head, they deliver something, they communicate effectively, and the audience is incredibly impressed, and then they brush it off of, oh, I just was winging it. I had nothing planned, I just got up stage, grabbed the mic. But I can tell you, first off, often those people are extroverted people and used to standing up, getting the attention, and communicating to a large group. But second off, even many extroverted people, even if they tell you that they were winging it, my guess is they were actually probably practicing. And I would say, strongly I would commit to this, that most speakers, if not all speakers, would benefit from practicing. Even those people who are incredible, getting up off the top of their head, can rip something out there, I would still say if those people spent a little bit of time practicing, dialing it in, their speeches could be even better. So for you as an introverted person, definitely practice, because the more you practice, the more familiar the content will be, and then your mind, because your mind's going to be occupied when you're on stage, you're going to be thinking about perhaps the fear you have of speaking or ensuring that things are going according to plan. You've got enough to worry about. You want to ensure that your speech is memorized, that you know it perfectly, and that is the last of your worries. You could deliver that with your eyes closed, but now here you are delivering a speech. You've got other things to focus on, but the speech itself is dialed in because you practiced. The second tip I have for anyone who is introverted is to ensure that your energy is high and that you are coming to the stage with a loud vocal tone right off the get-go, that you're smiling and that you have that positive energy. This is something that comes much more naturally for extroverted people. They're typically a bit louder and they know how to control a room, whereas introverted people, we're a little more soft-spoken. We like to hang out in the background a little bit more. But when you're speaking in front of an audience, you need to be forceful with your vocal tone and variety. You need to incorporate body language. You almost have to make believe that you are an extroverted person and really take on that role, because if you don't, it's going to be so difficult to keep your audience's attention. I've talked about this on the channel before. As a speaker, we are dealing with so many distractions, interruptions. Many people could be on their phones. And if you want them to be paying attention to you, you need to command that room. You need to become an authoritative individual and command that stage. Be loud, use vocal variety. But that doesn't mean you can't switch it up. It doesn't mean you can't bring your voice down from time to time. but this should not be your base level. This is good to bring the audience in, but then boom, you want to get their attention again, and you want to say things with that huge vocal range, and that is what is going to capture your audience's attention. And that goes back to the first tip of practice. You need to practice these things, be purposeful and intentional of when you plan to use vocal variety throughout the speech. That way, when you get up on the stage, you're not going to have to overthink it. It's going to come natural for you. With that said, even though you want to maybe step outside your element and be loud and informative with your vocal tone and variety, you still want to be authentic. And that may seem like a little bit of an interesting juxtaposition to be in, of thinking, well, Wade, my authentic self is quieter, more mild, and you're asking me to be louder and to grab the audience's attention. I think you sort of have to do that given the distractions and wanting to get their attention. But with that said, don't deviate. Don't go away too far from your own style, whatever that is. An example is that extroverted people, their sense of humor, it might be more kind of those loud, those rambunctious jokes that are bigger than life, whereas you as an individual might have more of a dry sense of humor. That doesn't mean you have to copy the way other people make jokes on stage, or even the speech style or structure. Maybe some people have a very specific beginning, middle, and end to their speeches, but you're somebody who's more artistic and you like to take the audience on a bit of a journey and maybe even go away from the typical normal structure, but on a purposeful, creative way, and that is your style. By all means, be creative, be yourself. That's one thing. Now I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant, but people have argued that Toastmasters tries to bring speakers into a very cookie cutter style. And thankfully, the club that I go to, Kelowna AM Toastmasters, they allow for that creativity. They encourage creativity. And that is something I would say is that if you're an introverted person, yes, use that vocal variety, get the audience's attention, but don't lose your own personality, those things that make you great. If it's dry humor, if it's little inside jokes, whatever it is that makes you the person you are, keep that, incorporate it, be your authentic self, whether you're introverted or extroverted. In my experience, one thing introverted speakers tend to do more than extroverted speakers is rely on their notes that they have used to prepare their speech. And I am going to encourage you, all of my introverted friends, to not do that. You should attempt to deliver a speech with either no notes, that's the ideal standard, or as few notes as possible that perhaps you reference periodically throughout the speech. There's a number of reasons why you don't want to rely on notes, but the first thing I want you to remember is that the audience doesn't know what you've written down. Sometimes we beat ourselves up because we forgot to talk about something that we were originally intending to be in the speech. And sure, we want to incorporate all of those things, but it's not the end of the world if we forget one or two points, because the audience didn't know what we were planning on speaking to them about. Therefore, by not having notes written down, sure, you may miss one or two little things, but the power you're going to have on the things you do talk about is going to be so much more, because instead of just reading off of a piece of paper very slowly with likely a monotone voice, if you don't have those notes, you can now focus on other things like eye contact with the audience, which is so important to keep them engaged. You can also use body language. Your body, your hands aren't tied up holding a piece of paper. Now they're free to do whatever it is that you're talking about. If you're talking about playing baseball, swing that baseball bat, use those arms, be emphatic. And those are the types of things that maybe don't come as natural to us introverts, but they help engage your audience. So while I've encouraged you to be your authentic self, you also want to veer away from using notes, because that's not something that has anything to do with being authentic. That is just a skill set of public speaking. And just because introverted people are more likely to use notes doesn't mean you have to use notes. I encourage you, ditch those notes. focus on the engagement of the audience. My final piece of advice is not to allow the label of introvert to define you. Maybe you're somebody who none of your friends would expect could be a good public speaker. Does that mean you will never be a good public speaker? No, not a chance. If you want to be, you absolutely can be. I remember when I emceed my first wedding, I had people come up to me afterward who said, Wade, I'm not gonna lie, I thought this was gonna be a train wreck. I did not think you were going to be able to MC this wedding, and you knocked it out of the park. You did a phenomenal job. And that's nice to hear, kind of, a little bit of a mixed feeling of thinking, oh, wait a second, why do you think I was gonna fail? But that's the reality. Some people might have an impression of you that you're a quieter person. It doesn't have to define you. When it comes to public speaking, if you follow some of the tips that I share in these videos or that you learn from Toastmasters and you implement those in future speeches, I don't care if you're introverted, extroverted, somewhere in the middle, you can be a phenomenal public speaker and still be your authentic self. I hope this video, all of my fellow introverts, has inspired you to take on more public speaking. Hopefully it's given you a couple specific tips that you can take away. If this video or my channel in general has ever provided you with value, I would ask, please subscribe. It is the best way to help me grow this channel. I appreciate every view on every video. I love every comment. I appreciate every subscriber so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. People are more scared of public speaking than they are of dying. Is it just me, or is that wrong? Hey everyone, my name is Wade Patterson, and I am passionate about impactful communication. My YouTube channel has helped hundreds of thousands of people improve their public speaking skills, and I am thrilled to release my first ever course, which has taken my decade of learning about how to become a better public speaker and boiled it down to this theme of mastering the 5 essentials of public speaking. I know for a fact that if you can dial in these 5 elements and perfect them, you are going to be a phenomenal public speaker, head and shoulders above the rest, just by being aware of these things. By taking the time to digest the information in this course, practice it, and then put it to action through your speeches, you are going to become a better public speaker. As a bonus in this course, I sit down with the world's greatest freestyle rapper, Harry Mack, and one of the greatest keynote speakers in the world, Sean Kanungo, and I get their tips firsthand of what makes them incredible at what they do. If you agree that public speaking definitely should not be scarier than dying, sign up for my course. You won't regret it.